after, and I dig a hip parent, so thank y'all for being hip.
No problem.
December 2006, escape to Belize. If you ever need a place to go for a few weeks to recharge your spirit, be alone with someone you love and plan a new life, I highly recommend San Pedro, Belize. The people are lovely, with friendly, smiling faces and a hello from everyone you meet. No cars on the island, golf carts and bicycles are the mode of transportation. And I like any place where I can get around by bike. It's sort of like New Orleans with an ocean. Waking up to beautiful sunrises over the ocean and dreaming of new possibilities. Our hosts here at El Pescador have been the most generous and kind people. They've given us compassion, wisdom, and space to be and decide. Shelley and I, like most folks who lost everything in the flood, have been in shock, reeling and frozen in time since then. This place and the peace that exists for the people that live here has given us a chance to catch our breath, to hold on to each other, and find the will to move forward again with our own lives. I won't say I'm not anxious, because it's difficult to make a living as a professional musician. But what are we if we don't face the unknown in life? The things we fear that challenge our being. We become spectators in our own lives if we don't reach for new horizons. So nervous and hopeful, I make the plunge into the unknown. Shelley talked me into scuba diving. I'm afraid of the water, I'm afraid of sharks, I'm afraid of the unknown. But it was the unknown and we jumped in. Once I remembered to relax and breathe, I found myself in a whole new world that I've never dreamt existed. Swimming with sharks, real ones, not the ones in the music business. And swimming with a huge stingray circling us, letting us know that we were visitors, there at its discretion. Thousands of fish swimming all around us. So much life I never knew existed. I'd faced the unknown, I'd found it frightening, exhilarating, and beautiful beyond what I'd imagined. Here's to dreaming good dreams and watching them come true. The editor chose to edit out a little bit there. The scuba diving, it sounds like a really poetic and beautiful experience, and it really was afterwards. But my wife is fairly fearless, so she was all for it. And the scuba diver was the guy who was putting us up at his resort. He was a really beautiful cat. So we jumped in the ocean, and the great thing, I don't know if you've been snorkeling, that when I snorkel, the thing that's bad for me is I'm not a good swimmer. So upon putting my face in the water, the first thing I can do is hear myself hyperventilating through the snorkel. So I was expecting that with the scuba diving, but you get in the water and in the first breath you're like, oh cool, I can breathe. I don't matter so much that I can't swim, I can breathe, that's alright, I can deal with that. So I start going into the water, and then like a couple of little, what they call nurse sharks come up and you go, oh, they don't have teeth, okay fine, I'll just stay away, it's good. And then they got their speed up and they're swimming ahead, and I'm keeping up pretty good, but then I noticed off in the misty ocean distance, this big thing, much bigger than me, swimming towards me with flapping wings, and it's, oh, that's a stingray, and that just killed that fella from Australia, just like, he's coming right for it, they're swimming towards him, look at that, that's kind of interesting, that's getting pretty close. And I thought later that I just slowed down to let them get ahead of me because I was a little scared, and when we got out of the boat, I said to the dive master, Alonzo, I said, yeah, I slowed down when y'all got me the stingray, and he said, oh yes, you slowed down. That was me backpedaling. So, this is my dear friends down in San Pedro who gave us a place to stay to figure out our lives. When I left, I wrote them this song in Spanish. It's called Adios San Pedro. Mi guitarra canta una canción de adiós San Pedro, no lágrimas, no tristezas, yo volveré otra vez un día. Ay, San Pedro, las playas, el sol quema nuestros bellos corazones. Ay, San Pedro, yo volveré otra vez un día. Eternamente, eternamente, de ola en ola, yo te sigo esperando con confianza en el cielo, el mar y el paso de las arenas y el tiempo. Ay, San Pedro, las playas, el sol quema nuestros bellos corazones. Ay, San Pedro, yo volveré otra vez un día. mirando las estrellas que recuerdan a San Pedro como fosforosa en el mar de la noche. Mi guitarra canta una canción de adiós San Pedro. Ay, San Pedro, las playas, el sol quema nuestros bellos corazones. Ay, San Pedro, yo volveré otra vez un día. Yo volveré otra vez un día, en verano, en primavera. Todos los años, todos los días, yo volveré otra vez un día. Now, I think from the brief time we've all known each other, you guys don't get the impression I'm all about higher learning when I'm out in the world seeking. So I don't want you to think I spent my time down in Central America just learning Spanish. I did learn my Spanish in a bar. The bartender's name was Cesar, and he was helping me translate my songs into Spanish while I was down there. And lucky for me in Belize, they were a British colony until 1981, so they speak half English and half Spanish. And that really helped. And so I wrote them this song, I wrote Cesar this song actually, about what I think is the most beautiful word in the Spanish language. I don't know if anybody speaks Spanish, but I think this word means either paradise or heaven or perfection. I never did quite figure it out. The word is mañana. And I heard somebody over here say it's tomorrow. It's not. I thought so. I took high school Spanish, and that's what they teach in America. But it's not true, because I was down in Belize and I quit the band I was in for 15 years, and I was drinking in the bar with Cesar, and I said, man, I quit my job of 15 years. I really should be looking for work. And he said, don't worry about it. You find work mañana. And I said, okay, well, you know, Cesar, I've been in here drinking for like 4 days. I should settle my tab up. And he said, you settle your tab mañana. That's when it hit me, baby. Doesn't mean tomorrow night. My Spanish teacher in high school was wrong. It means heaven or paradise. And I decided on the spot that mañana needed a love song, and I was just the man to write it. So I don't know where this place is, but I hope to find it one day and live there forever, or at least for mañana. And it's written half in Spanish, half in English, and I can promise you all completely drunk. I recorded this on my album, Edie to Mystery Street, which was produced by a great guy named Dave Turner. It's a band called Soul Asylum. And Dave got the idea that it was such a great drunk-sounding bar song that I should sing it higher than I could ever sing. So I sounded like a drunk in a bar. I don't know why I agreed to it, but I apologize to you in advance for what I'm about to do. Mi español es no bueno. Yo habla el español muy mal. Yo necesito muchas cervezas to speak any Spanish at all. Hey, 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 hey. Mañana, mañana, we love to say. Hey, 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 hey. We'll all see mañana one day. No más, yo fumo marijuana, unless I am all by myself. No más, yo fumo marijuana, unless I am with someone else. Hey, 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 hey. Mañana, mañana, we love to say. Hey, 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 hey. We'll all see mañana one day. Mañana, I'm gonna stop drinking. Mañana, I'm gonna find work. Even in Atlanta, they find that line funny. Mañana, I'm gonna start thinking. Gonna start thinking for better or worse. Ahora bebo margaritas. Ahora I sleep in the sun. Ahora I want just a little bit more of mañana for everyone. Hey, 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 hey. Mañana, mañana, we love to say. Hey, 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 hey. mañana one day. Everybody come on. Hey, 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 hey. Mañana, mañana, we love to say. Hey, 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 hey. We'll all see mañana one day. Just look over yonder, see what you wanna, but I see mañana one day. That's it right now. Thank you so much. That was lovely. You guys sing wonderfully. Y'all sound just like a bar full of drunks.
You taught us well, Paul.
They've been working on it a long time, so I'm glad folks are paying attention. What's up, Doc? February 2008. Passed out on Frenchman Street doing a John Boutte show. I was talking to someone on the set break and the room seemed to get hotter and hotter. I was dizzy. I felt like the place was closing in on me. I went to the sidewalk thinking some air might help, but the same sinking feeling told me to get near as pavement as I could, because that's where I was headed. I woke up surrounded by my wife and a couple of shocked friends looking down at me again, throwing up in public. And so I was so wiped out I couldn't walk. A generous friend with a big back seat was parked nearby. He flew in like Superman and got me into his car without ultimately seeing what a mess I was. He drove Shelley and me home. He helped her get me upstairs. I'm sure I made a mess of his car and equally sure I will never hear a word about it from him. I wasn't drunk, I don't know what happened. I knew it was time to listen to Shelley and go to a doctor. The doctor ran some tests and in a way that seemed brutally casual to me, said I had a seizure disorder, most likely caused by a head trauma. I'd been hit by a cab in Chicago in summer of 2006. He said it was controllable by medication, but that I'd be on that medication the rest of my life. He said it might make me tired a bit, most of the time actually. He also said I couldn't drive for 6 months until I was seizure-free, or I'd be criminally negligible should I be in an accident. Having just left the band and needing to drive to make a living, this wasn't good news. He said all this briefly, casually, as I say. In his view, it was good news, because it could have been worse, and I suppose I should be grateful. But the sentence he spoke changed everything I thought I could do with my life for the next year, at least, and likely for the rest of my life. I know I'll figure it out, but for now I'm at a loss. I don't know what's next or what to expect. I'm just trying to keep my hustle alive. And I'm going to continue just because that was so short. This is from February 2008. It's called Feathers. Emily Dickinson once wrote, "Hope is a thing with feathers."
Yeah.
Woody Allen, in a sort of answer, titled a book of his, "Without Feathers." Well, if hope is a thing with feathers, then I'm not without feathers, but I am a wet feather boa at the end of a rainy Mardi Gras day. Life is now a walk or a bike ride away, and that's different. Running errands is on a schedule now, or getting a lift from a friend who's off work. And who's off work anyway? I'm getting used to it though, as I wrote to my friend Chris Rose recently. I've learned in the last few years that the faster you learn to play the changes, the sooner it becomes a new song. So I'm not without feathers, though I am beat, dog-tired, and for the first time in my life, I can't just work as hard as possible to make things better. I have to learn to accept life's new pace, to learn some patience, to find that new path to the waterfall Raymond Carver wrote about. I still believe in tomorrow, I just like it to get here so I know where I fit in. That isn't just my story, it's the story of thousands here in New Orleans. If you've lost your home, your stuff, your job, your friends, and all the routine that made up your life, where is your you-ness? Where is our we-ness? I don't know if it makes any sense unless it's your life, but if you lose everything that makes up your life, whose life are you living? I suppose that's what I'm trying to figure out. What is this new life I'm living? There it is again, that whole patience thing. When I figure out where I am, I'll be the first to let me know. Chris Rose wrote in the Times-Picayune recently, "They love us almost as much as we love us, because they have danced at the center of the universe, and once you do that, you're changed forever." So, here I am, a wet feather boa, at the end of a rainy Mardi Gras day, waiting for the next song so I can dance at the center of the universe.
Yeah.
Come check out the scene, see what I mean about this stew called New Orleans. It's a gumbo pot for sure. It is and it ain't and it's so much more. Now don't take a pass, this could be a gas, this stew called New Orleans. From the very young to the very old, it's a town where the good times roll. This stew called New Orleans. Don't forget to bring your greens to the stew called New Orleans. Now I'm not the first, and I won't be the last to say or have it said. I'm New Orleans born, New Orleans bred, and when I die I'll be New Orleans dead. And if I do, and you should hear, I feel like I'm back in New Orleans. Don't you waste any time. Find a holiday brass band, shamar on horn, and get me to a second line in this stew called New Orleans. Don't forget to bring your greens to the stew called New Orleans. Come check out the scene, see what I mean by this stew called New Orleans. There's a place where we can meet, like the song says, down on Frenchman Street. And if that groove makes you want to move, don't you waste any time. Find the hot brass band, shamar on horn, and get me to a second line. Maybe Leroy Jones, Shorty and his trombone will take you to a second line. See if Matt Perrine or Mr. Gregory Klein take you to a second line. And even if there's heat, Glenn David is fine. We'll take you to a second line in this stew called New Orleans. Don't forget to bring your greens to the stew called New Orleans. I'm talking about a stew called New Orleans. I'm talking about a stew called New Orleans. I'm supposed to do this for 45 minutes, and I only have my short reading glasses. Anybody know what time it is?
5 minutes, Paul. Five
Cool.
minutes.
I don't want to make anybody else late. I'm going to read one more and do one more song and say thank y'all very much. Thanks to the Decatur Book Festival for making me a part of their wonderful festival. Give them a hand. Eddie and Bob and all the folks, Jim here at Eddie's Attic for having me back at Eddie's Attic. I love this from one of my favorite places in the country to play. So nice to be back. And this table over here is a group of threadheads. And the threadheads I mentioned earlier are not-for-profit, all volunteer, and they've raised over $300,000 since the flood to help New Orleans music and New Orleans musicians. Thanks to my friends. So, as it happened, the lady happened to call me just as we had gotten our house, like I said earlier. And the last block was about the time that we had moved in, and it was kind of a fitting way to end the book, so it worked out nicely. But I actually had decided not to blog anymore, and she wrote me 2 weeks later, so it really was serendipitous. Epilogue, January 2009. Down in the Tremé, it's me and my baby. So there it is, 2 years of my life. I have work happening now, writing songs with a lot of different folks around town. My song Jet Black and Jealous has been in the Billboard country music charts for over 17 weeks, still counting. Hey, it's been a year now, thanks. It's a young band called the Eli Young Band. It's a country band from Texas on Universal Records, and they did a song of mine that was first released at a record label in Atlanta in 1992, and came full circle last year and got released, and it's on the charts still. There's a new disc with Boutte, stew called New Orleans. I have gigs here and in other cities. John Boutte and I play Canada, New York, Los Angeles. There are more shows on the horizon with my own band, the Rolling Road Show, as well. I've learned to communicate with other musicians and to the world again. My songs have grown. I feel a part of New Orleans again, connected to life and creativity. I have a home in the Treme. Shelley and I love our house. It's a small two-story Creole cottage-style home. Shelley has already begun some slight renovations. She built additional shutters for the side windows to match the front ones and painted them all a new color, a color she chose for the shutters of her new home. She has been doing this under the watchful eye of a very sweet, inquisitive lady from the Treme Neighborhood Association, who was politely quizzed about the shutters and color changes, while not too discreetly checking out the character of the home's new owners. I was pleased when the look of concern on her face changed to a smile, followed by an invite to attend a meeting sometime. Even better was finding out that this obviously powerful and presiding voice in the neighborhood, who had just given us her approval, is married to the father of Shannon Powell, one of the greatest drummers in the world. Shannon Powell, who cooked me a meal in Ohio, the memory of which still lingers on my taste buds. Mardi Gras is near, and from our balcony we can hear the John McDonough marching band getting ready for parade season as they march around and around our block, playing their street beat and breaking into a song at every other corner. This fantastic event takes place daily outside our front door, about 4:30 in the afternoon, and it's quickly become my favorite time of day to stop working, turn off the computers and television, open the windows and listen to the music flow. We are home indeed. When we got the house, the first thing Glenn David Andrews told me was, "Welcome to the 7th Ward. You're going to see a second line now." We moved in a month and a half ago, and this past Sunday, the first second line passed under our balcony. It was somber, spiritual, tragic, poetic, and joyful. That is how a second line unfolds. Shelley called me to the balcony. I walked out and was surprised to see a hearse in the street below. I could hear the band coming. They were half a block away, still playing a dirge as they crossed Esplanade. Once they were across Esplanade, they broke into a second line, and it was joyful and beautiful in the way that only a real second line can be. This was no party in the French Quarter, this was a funeral. Someone was being sent to glory land, and the folks were going to make sure there was a brass band playing with dancing on the streets of heaven and earth. There were old gentlemen in suits and Stetsons and pretty ladies in dresses and high heels. The first song John Boutte and I ever wrote was called The Foot of Canal Street. We were walking down near the cemeteries at the end of Canal Street, comparing the similarities in our lives. John and I had met at the home of the songwriter Michelle Schacht when she lived in New Orleans for a while. We had both been playing music professionally in New Orleans for over a decade at that time, but we had never met. Michelle had a gift for bringing people together who should have met, but hadn't. We found out that we were born a year apart, 3 days apart. Both were raised in a house full of sisters. And as we walked down Canal Street, we found out that we had something else in common. We were talking about the differences in our lives growing up in New Orleans in the 60s. He in the Treme, and me in the Irish Channel. Him playing jazz and me playing rock and roll. John being black and me being white. As we reached this point in the conversation, we were about a block and a half away from a cemetery which John pointed to and said, "You know, baby, my daddy's buried in that cemetery." I said, "Johnny, that's one more thing we got in common. My daddy's buried across the street." He looked at me and he smiled and said, "You know what, baby? Black or white, we all gonna meet at the foot of Canal Street." And I told him that it was beautiful, we had to write a song which said just that. So we walked back to where I was living at the time on Bienville in Mid-City to see if we could write a song together. I thought we should try and write a song that sounded like it could be played at a second line funeral. I said, "You've sung and played at second line funerals, man, what's it like? It looks so holy, it looks so spiritual, it looks so beautiful." He gave me a sly grin, one that I would get to know very well over the next 12 years, and he said, "Well, baby, it's beautiful and all, but you know, mostly the bitches wonder what the other bitch is gonna be wearing." And the man